to meet the goals that you may have.
Good morning. You're watching the F&O Show on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza.
Good morning, Navneet. I'm Agam Vakil. The top headlines this hour. Indian markets opened higher for the second straight session, tracking gains in Asian shares. Nifty trades about 10,700. India Wix surges. An open interest in PC Jeweler surges, and we've seen quite a volatile day in today's day of trade. Traders, of course, are taking fresh position in its futures. And ICICI Bank is a top Nifty gainer, and then after it manages to contain the gross NPA figure below 10% in the fourth quarter, despite RBI's new recognition norms. And a 5-judge constitution bench will hear Congress's plea challenging the Vice President's decision to reject the impeachment motion filed against Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra.
All right, those are the top headlines at this hour. Let's also take a look what's happening with the futures and options market. Well, we definitely had a positive opening coming about after yesterday's strong closing, but I guess the markets are now off the opening levels, still holding on to the mark of 10,700. The premium on the Nifty futures has come down to almost 11 to 12 points. Pull up the Bank Nifty futures. Remember, Bank Nifty is the one which has been outperforming, and they continue to trade at a discount. I think today is the second straight day. Yesterday, the Bank Nifty futures closed with a discount, and today it is trading with a discount of nearly 31 points, but still 140 points higher for Bank Nifty this morning. And remember, majority of the gains today are being led by ICICI Bank. That's a heavy weight on both Nifty as well as Bank Nifty. That has almost 4.5% weightage there. Let's move on in terms of sectoral indices. As I mentioned, ICICI Bank, so contributing to that is also the Nifty Private Banking Index and the Nifty Pharma indices, which are doing pretty well. Nifty Private Banking Index is also up 1%. Pharma seems to have come off the opening high levels. In terms of some of the strikes which are active in today's trading session, we are somewhere hovering around the mark of 10,700. So both the 10,700 and the 10,000 call and put strikes have been active. Almost 1 lakh shares have been added on the call side, and 2 lakh shares have been added on the put strike. But if one were to look at the range for this series, the maximum OI concentration still remains at the 10,500 put and the 11,000 call strike. But I'm talking about the institutions. I don't think the template for them has been changing. They continue to buy some bit of protection via put longs, and yesterday also they sold almost 650 crores in the cash segment.
I think it'll be interesting to put that into perspective, Navneet, because as far as this month goes, they really haven't done too much in cash markets either. And in fact, they've actually sold. That said, let's take a look at some of the key movers with respect to substantial increase in open interest. And of course, ICICI Bank will be right at the top. In fact, 19% gains coming in as far as open interest goes. It's also the top Nifty gainer today, up as much as nearly 6.5%. PC Jeweler is an interesting one. Now, it started the day with gains. It eventually moved down by as much as 15%, currently still at losses, but now it's curtailed its losses to a certain extent. It's an extremely volatile counter today. Its open interest increased as much as 15%, and I'm sure there are a lot of traders out there who will be, wary of their positions, whether it be long or short. Exide, of course, is seeing a surge of 7% in its open interest after it came out with its earnings yesterday. It did advance. We're looking at more longs building in there, IGL and Ujjivan Financial, among other counters. Ujjivan looking at a little bit of a reversal after the weakness we saw in yesterday's day of trade. In terms of unwinding, there isn't too much to speak for. Repco Home Finance sees 1.6% decline, and Wockhardt also looking at a decline around 1.3%. But on the whole, keeping an eye on ICICI Bank and what that does and whether or not we do see some unwinding of some of those intraday positions that have been taken. For now, the stock is up in as much as 6.5%, Amit.
You know, Agam, I'm not too surprised with the way how PC Jewelers has moved this morning. As we know that it's come out of the F&O ban.
Right.
The 35 to 40% move that one saw in the last two sessions on Monday as well as Friday. Look at the delivery data on the cash side. Those 2 days, the stock was in the ban period. So therefore, no fresh positions could have been taken on the futures and options side. But on the cash side, the delivery data was as low as 7 to 8%. That was telling you there was some bit of speculative trading that was taking place in PC Jewelers, and rightly so. Today, when it's come out of the ban, traders are going ahead and building up fresh short positions for this counter. We'll get you more views on this, but before we get to our guest in the show, here's a reminder for you all. If you have any queries in the futures and options market, you can pick your phone now. Call us on 022-4540-4141. Write to us on Twitter, Facebook, and for the ones watching us on YouTube, you can write your queries on that platform. Also, just don't forget to put the AskPQ hashtag. Let's welcome our F&O experts then. Nirav Chheda of Nirmal Securities and Amit Shah of BOB Capital Markets are here with us. Good morning, gentlemen, and thanks a lot for joining us today on the F&O Show. Amit, let me come to you first. What's your reading been? Yesterday was a very strong closing. We reclaimed the 10,700 mark, but majority of the technical analysts we've been interacting with, they've been saying Bank Nifty is looking stronger than Nifty. Where would you take your trade?
Yeah, so definitely Bank Nifty has showed outperformance compared to Nifty. We saw previous month Nifty was outperforming Bank Nifty, and the start of the inception of the May series, we're seeing private banking, especially the private banking space, leading the entire rally, which is supporting the overall Bank Nifty space. However, I would still be under observation that Bank Nifty will continue to outperform, but looking at the risk to reward, I believe Nifty can find some supportive action from the overall banking space, where Nifty, after 3 days of slide, took a support around 10,600 odd and witnessed a sharp pullback from those levels. We saw strong put writing coming in at 600 and unwinding at 10,700 strike for the call option. So that gives more room where on the upside possibility of testing 850, 880 would be quite high, provided it takes a momentum support at 10,640 levels on the downside.
Okay, Nirav, good morning. What about you? How are you viewing trade on the indices right now?
Yeah. See, more or less, I believe Nifty is likely to remain range bound for a week or so. More likely with the Karnataka elections coming up next week. So again, I believe PCR is near its top of 1.56, 1.60. The VIX should inch up because of the elections. Overall, if you look at the open interest, also a lot of open interest has been seen built in at 10,500 put strike and 11,000 call strike. However, a lot of activity off late has been seen in the put strikes of 10,600, 700. So they are suggesting, with the VIX also going up, that very likely around 10,750, 10,800 we will find a resistance in Nifty, and probably Nifty will again come down towards 10,600, 10,550 odd levels. So we are near our resistances at this moment. I do not see Nifty going up towards 11,000 at least in the next 1 or 2 weeks, and that is why I believe one should go short or probably make a bear put spread.
Okay, let's get more details about his option strategy, Nirav's option strategy. But before I get you the details, let me tell you what a bear spread is. He has a strategy of bear spread on Nifty today. If you look at this strategy, it means a bear spread is employed when one expects a moderate down move in a security, and in this particular strategy, a put option of a certain strike is purchased and a put option of a lower strike is simultaneously. So Nirav, you very briefly mentioned about your strategy. If you could also take us through the details, which are the strikes that you're looking at?
Yeah. See, at the money 10,700 put strike one can buy. I believe Nifty can come down towards 10,550, 10,500 odd levels, not more. It should consolidate briefly in between 10,500 and 10,750, and that is why one can sell the 10,500 put strike as well. Making this bear put spread, you give away a premium of about 50 points, and your risk is only limited to 50 points. The reward is about 150 points if Nifty comes down towards 10,500 and expires below the same. So once you see a move towards 10,500, that is when you book your profits. You should be able to get in anything in between 100, 120 odd points, and that should be your target.
One of those days when our experts have divergent views because Amit has a covered call on the Nifty. And before we take a look at what he has to say about it, let's also take a look at how the strategy is played. It's a call when a strategy is employed when an investor holds a near-term neutral view on a security. And this involves selling a put option of the asset which the investor has bought securities in. This, of course, is an oversimplified definition. Amit, why don't you take us through your strategy here?
Yeah, so as I just mentioned that the way market has turned from 10,600 with the spurt in open interest and volume, and across the space we have seen most of the sectors participating in this momentum, mainly led by the banking space. So I clearly believe till the time Nifty is holding about 10,640, definitely market is likely to see a range-bound, a breakout of this range-bound action, which it has been witnessing from last couple of weeks. Above a sustained move above 705 will lead to a further up move towards 880 odd.
Right.
If we see the fall from 11,171 to 9,950, on the Fibonacci, 61.8% retracement is around 10,705. So that would be an important level to watch out for on a sustained basis. And I believe the more it sustains above that, definitely market is poised for 10,850, 900 levels on the upside. Covered call, I recommend to buy future at this level around 10,735. Sell 11,000 call option. That's where also the maximum call writers are located. Right. The premium is hovering around 35, 36. And one can keep a stop loss around 10,640. That's the momentum support, and look for a target towards 10,900 levels.
Okay, as a follow-up question, Amit, we've been getting some questions that we are heading into an event, that's the Karnataka elections. Eventually, and quite naturally, we're expecting the wicks also to move up, edge up upwards. At what point in time would you recommend, say if someone were to go and short a strangle or a straddle, firstly, would you recommend that? And secondly, at what levels of the wicks are you likely to recommend going short on a strangle or a straddle?
So I would not recommend to go short at these VIX levels, definitely. Considering during any kind of event, irrespective of Indian domestic event or international event, we see that VIX tends to rise. And since the time we have seen this consolidation over 12, 13 odd band over last couple of 4 to 5 weeks on India VIX index, it has started to shoot around 13.9 to 14 odd levels. There is still room on the upside where it can test towards 15, 15 and a half. And consolidate over that band overall.
Okay.
Unless and until it doesn't see a substantial rise above 17 odd, I would avoid to do a short strangle or a straddle at this level.
All right.
Okay, that's the view coming in on India VIX, and we've also given you some strategies on the indices, but let's also get you some trading strategies going on a couple of stock futures in today's trading session. Nirav, I'm going to come to you. Which are the stock futures that you're recommending in today's session?
Yeah, the first one is a sell on ICICI Prudential. See, it made a very good move from 380 to 450 odd, but that was followed with a huge volume around 450, 455 odd levels. So it does mean that, at higher levels, someone has left positions, booked profits. I believe from here, up till 455, 460 odd levels, there is going to be huge supply pressure in this stock, and the stock is likely to come down again, retrace it back to around 400 odd levels. So one can short at current levels with a stop loss of about 464 and a possible target of 420. The second one is a buy on ITC futures. This is again a follow-up of my last weekend call. See, ITC in the FMCG pack has been a laggard and has now shown momentum. It has shown, that it can now again move up towards 300, 320 odd levels. So one can buy at current levels. Very good support is placed around 278, 275 odd levels. So one can keep a stop loss of 275, go long on the futures, and expect a target of about 300.
All right, and Amit, how about you? What are you recommending today?
So I have a buy on Concor. The stock has formed a irregular inverse head and shoulder formation on its daily chart. It has seen a good rise in the open interest since the inception of the May series. The open interest has roughly increased by around 10-11% odd. The stock is in action today. The way it has moved from 1360, 1350 odd band, it surely looks that it is poised for a neckline breakout of its formation. Now on the downside, 1355, 1360 would be a key momentum support. and continuing to hold above 1374. I believe the stock is poised for 1445, 1460 levels in short term. And eventually, on a positional structure, I believe it can test towards 1550 levels also. So this risk to reward and this formation definitely supports on the long side, and with a good risk to reward favorable on a positional front. Another buy idea is on Asian Paints. The stock hasn't seen much of action on the open interest for this series, but however, if we see the rollovers in the April series, it were quite impressive. So I believe the open interest will start picking up once the stocks shows a sustained move above 1200 odd levels. So that should be a stop loss level, and one can trade with a target of 1260 on a short term basis.
All right.
Okay, those are the strategies in terms of stock futures. It's time for us to address some buzzing stock futures in today's trading session. I want to pull up BEML. That's your top F&O gainer as we speak, besides ICICI Bank, which too is doing pretty well in today's session. BEML, if you check the cash volumes, it's already done close to what it did the entire session in yesterday's day, at least on National Stock Exchange. And I was just looking at this stock. It touched its 52-week low of 971 in this month itself on 4th May. But from those levels, it's bounced back, and it's bounced back quite sharply. Currently, the stock's trading around the mark of 1127. In terms of open interest, it's added only 3.5%, but the move has actually come in on account of high volumes that one has seen on the cash side. Nirav, at current levels, do you think it has bottomed out, considering it hit its 52-week low mark last week?
Yeah. From a near-term perspective, I believe it has. However, it still has some time left before I can say it has bottomed out for medium-term perspective. See, it has got resistance around 1150 odd levels, so one can buy at current levels. A very impressive move, backed by short covering action. I believe it can come to 1150. One can buy at current levels with a stop loss of 1110, which is a good support area now. So one can go long in this.
All right, so that's the view on BEML. Let's also take a look at PC Jeweler. Actually, I know this is going to be a tough call, but Amit, how would you read anything into the kind of move that we've seen in PC Jeweler right now, or would you absolutely avoid it? And what would you tell traders who are looking to get into something like this?
Yeah, I would definitely avoid. There is a lot of noise in the charts. It has been very much volatile over last couple of weeks, and since the time it has falling from 600 odd levels, we have seen consistent downfall. Right. So definitely volatility has to trigger. I would sincerely advise traders to stay away from this. Let the noise cool off, let the volatility get subdued, and then one can take a directional view. Unless and until that is not seen, one should definitely avoid this counter.
Okay, I think you're going to read the query.
Yes, actually,
Go ahead.
Yeah, right. So we do have a query on Facebook from Suhail Sheikh. He says that, can I take a call option of PC Jeweler 350 strike, as today a lot of short positions were built and the buyback is around the corner. I already hold 240 shares of the counter, bought 2 days back. So we already have Amit's view, so I'm going to take this to Nirav. Nirav, can you help Suhail out with his position, whether or not you recommend buying the 350 call option? And do remember and keep in mind that he does have about 240 odd shares that he's bought about two days back. He hasn't mentioned the price at which he's entered, but what would you advise Suhail should do with his query right now?
Yeah. See, he should be holding on to his shares with a stop loss of 170. 170 is the level from where it had bounced back very recently. However, 350 call strike is very far from here. I know it has been jumping 50 rupees or going down by 50 rupees every day, but I would also avoid buying anything into PC Jewelers. It is very, very risky, and the answer is an emphatic no.
I'm not surprised, Nirav. Majority of the analysts who've been coming on our shows in the last few sessions, they've categorically said that just stay away from this counter. And Suhail, just for your information, the board meeting is on May 10th. I know you're looking forward to that buyback news, but there are more details actually to be seen in that buyback offer which comes about. I know typically a buyback is a positive news, but we still need to wait and watch whether the promoters participate in that buyback or not. And let's not forget, Vakrangi too came out with a buyback offer, but but you know how the stock reacted. So PC Jewelers, you've heard our experts' view on the charts. What does this mean? And wild swings like these, where a stock nearly doubles in 3 to 4 sessions, I think typically you should just stay away, because there are a lot of good counters in the market to play on. I'm just going to go across and take some more viewer queries now. On YouTube, Hari Strikes writes to us, he's holding Vedanta 320 call strike, and he's paid premium of almost 2.9 rupees for the same, and he wants to know what to do with it. Can we just pull up the 320 call strike of Vedanta? Okay, it's at 2.3 and he's purchased at 2.9. Amit, what would you advise, considering we did see a bounce back for metal stocks?
Yeah, see, firstly, I believe 320 is very far from these levels. So definitely he should come out of this strike price and trade where it is slightly close to the at-the-money strike, which is around 290 or maybe 300 strike price. So that's where he can find some momentum for a quick exit or a re-entry point.
Right.
On the downside, the stock holds a good support around 280 mark. If it continues to hold above that, I believe the stock can see some consolidation, but the momentum will only pick in once it starts sustaining above 290 levels. Till that time, it will remain sideways.
Okay, then moving on to the next one, we have a query on Bank Nifty, the 26,000 call. This one comes from RB on YouTube. He says that he has shorted the 26,000 Bank Nifty call at 52 for the Thursday expiry. Hold or book losses. Can we take a look at where this particular call is trading at? Around, well, 421 right now. And I'm not sure if the premium that we have is the correct one. In any case, I'm going to take this query to Nirav. Nirav, what would you recommend that he could do, keeping the Thursday expiry in mind? He has shorted the 26,000 call. Excuse me.
Yeah. See, for Bank Nifty, again, 26,000 level is a strong resistance area. There is a lot of call built up also at that level. However, you know, it's a very tough question, keeping in mind the Thursday expiry. I believe it can go up towards 26,200 odd levels, because Bank Nifty is much stronger than Nifty if you look at the charts. Again, you know, he's just shorted the call. He's not even, you know, hedged positions. So I would suggest him to, you know, hedge positions by at least buying the 26,100 call option and hold it on till the Thursday expiry. That should be, you know, a better position to have.
Okay, since we are on the topic of Bank Nifty, we've got one more query on that front. Bikash Pekare on YouTube writes to us. Thanks, Bikash, for writing in. He has one lot of Bank Nifty puts of at 214 for strike 25,400. Okay, so he's holding the 25,400 strike. He's got a put of that for which he's paid premium of 214, and this is for the 31st May expiry. He's asking what to do with that one. Amit, you'd like to take that?
Yeah, so it's a contra bet displaying. I believe till the time Bank Nifty is not showing any reversal signs, one should avoid any contra bet at this level. It has some resistance around 26,200, 26,300, but I would wait and watch how it hovers around those band. And unless and until that levels are not tested, one should avoid a contra bet on Bank Nifty.
Okay, moving on to the next query, we have Money Monster, and he says he holds one lot of the 2600 call on Jubilant Foodworks at 115. What's the earnings outlook and potential target? Okay, Money Monster, I'm going to tell you about the earnings outlook. We're expecting a very healthy quarter, expansion, substantial margins, and also, well, the same sort of sales growth, which is a key watchable for the company at around 20 to 24%, the highest we have seen in many quarters, and this is largely on account of the price hikes that they have taken in this particular quarter. And we have seen some up move as far as Jubilant Foodworks goes, but today this underlying is down by as much as 0.3%. We haven't seen too much movement, at least in today's day of trade. And this I'm assuming is largely on account of earnings, and I'm assuming that Money Monster is playing for good earnings coming up. So he's paid a premium of around 115. It's currently trading at 130. Nirav, I'm going to take this query with you. What's your view on Jubilant Foodworks, keeping in mind we're expecting earnings sometime around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon today?
I think he should hold on. Looking at the long-term structure, I think Jubilant is likely to move towards 2800 in this expiry. So he should be able to make a good amount of profit in his call. He should be holding on. He should be booking profits. If the call comes out up to 180, 190 odd levels, he can keep a stop loss of about 80 on his call.
So view coming in on Jubilant FoodWorks. Watch out for the numbers. It usually reacts quite sharply when the earnings come out. Okay, the next query is from Facebook, and Shivu SB writes to us. He's holding HPCL 300 call option at 13.3. That's the premium he's paid for it. He's asking if he should book profits as his position is already in the money, as HPCL current price is above that mark of 300. 15.7 bought at 13.3. Amit, should he be booking profits here?
I would request to trail the stop loss to 295 odd. Okay. Most of the OMCs, we saw some kind of a pullback action from its lows. So even HPCL is showing some kind of a reversal sign where on the upside it can test 312, 314 levels where there is a stiff resistance. So I believe one can hold with a 295 stop loss and wait for target towards 314 levels on the upside.
I mean, just a quick question. I know I can't spend a lot of time on it. Sai Karthik on Facebook is asking if you could explain in a very brief manner how STT is levied on option. Only if you have time today, or we can take this query some other day.
Can we take it off?
Sure. No, I was just, it's because this would require a lot more time, Karthik. Sorry, we'll take it some other day because we're running out of time on the show. But before we wrap, I want to check with our experts if something very interesting is popping up on their screen. Nirav, I'll come to you. I know you've given me your strategies. Anything interesting that is popping up on your screen right now?
Yeah. I think one can go ahead and buy Oro Pharma. I've seen some bit of buying coming into this counter. It has been underperforming from quite some time, and from the last few days a lot of volume has been coming into this stock. So one can go ahead and buy this stock with a stop loss of about 610, and a possible target can be around 660. You can see this stock move up in the next 1 or 2 days.
Okay, and Amit, are you spotting anything interesting right now?
Yeah, so I like KPIT at this level. The stock has been showing a lot of strength around 260, 255 odd mark. I believe the stock can target towards 280, 285 levels on the upside. And another counter which I believe can be the dark horse for the May series would be Bata India. The stock has spent a lot of time around 800 to 770 odd band, has seen a good amount of rollovers for the May series. Open interest is right now muted, but I think it's just a matter of time. Once it starts sustaining above 810, it is poised for 920 levels on the upside.
You know what, we've not taken view on ICICI Bank. I think it's important to address that counter today, Amit.
Sure.
If somebody would have taken a long position, I'm presuming before the earnings, what should they do? 308 is the current price, 308 or 9. Is it time to book profits, considering I don't know the short-term charts, how they are looking, because the stock's bounced back from the lows that it saw towards the end of March?
Right. So the stock has seen a lot of pain from 365 odd levels to almost 255 levels. It has been consistently making a lower top, lower bottom formation since the Jan series. After this is the first time it has shown such a good strength after a breakout above 292 odd levels. So that is a key support level. And I believe the more it sustains above 308, the stock can see further upside towards 330 levels, where that is where one can see some profit booking action.
Okay, so impetus largely on the back of today's move. Keep an eye on ICICI Bank, but we've run out of time on this show. So I'm going to thank both our experts, Nirav and Amit, for joining us and taking us through their views on. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the F&O Show. But don't go up anywhere. Up next is Ira Dugal in conversation with the Power Secretaries. Stay tuned on the Bloomberg Quint. We keep bringing you more.